If you're a modern businessman or businessman-woman travelling in Auckland or Christchurch for work, or perhaps an inner-city resident who doesn't have room for a car, or even something we haven't had in New Zealand for a long time, an overseas tourist, I've got an eco-friendly transport solution that just might work for you. Let's go check it out. It's not something I've ever used before, and I'm curious to see if I'll actually like it, so I headed to one of the service's 3 inner-city locations. Okay, I found the place. It is called Zilch, and it is car sharing. Now, this is not an advertisement. I've never used Zilch before. They're not paying me for this. The fact is, every one of their vehicles, almost 100 in Christchurch and Auckland, are entirely electric, like this BMW i3. So I'm going to swipe the card, unlock the car, and go for a drive. Using this service means selecting your city, Christchurch or Auckland, choosing your pickup point, your car, and choosing your dates, and then just pressing Book Now. That's all there is to it. Okay, BMW i3. Now, I did actually drive one of these a long time ago, but it's been a while, so let's try and figure it out. First of all, I'm going to use these cars for what a lot of people with car sharing do. I'm going to be a tourist. So I'm going to ask, hey Google, what does a tourist to Auckland often do?
Wait in a queue outside a Louis Vuitton store.
I'm not going to do that. Give me another option.
Climb to the top of Rangitoto Island.
I can't take a car there, obviously. Give me one more option.
Visit Motuihi Island.
I can't take a car there either.
Gavin, figure it out yourself.
Fine. Guess we'll go to Devonport. Now, one thing I remember about this car is that it had quite a lot of power. Ooh, no, grow up, Gavin, grow up. Man, that's got some heavy regen. I've got to get used to the regenerative braking. So when you take your foot off the accelerator, it slows the car down naturally, putting power back into the battery. And that is very different to a gas car. The car stops really quite effortlessly by itself. Something interesting about the BMW i3 is that when it was designed to use an entirely carbon fiber frame. Incredibly expensive, very strong, very lightweight. And the idea was to try and make it as efficient as possible. That means that it gets some pretty remarkable mileage from just its tiny little battery packs. Not a very big battery, but when I picked it up, it had 215 kilometers showing on its gasometer. Not bad. And it also, because it's light, it's got pretty decent performance. So if I put my foot down, which I'm not going to do that because, first of all, the speed limit's 80. Secondly, all these Zilch cars have GPSs built in and they can see where I am and how fast I'm going. I'm going to behave myself today. Being a tourist in a BMW means 2 things: fancy coffee and expensive art, which I believe is now Devonport's slogan. I see what looks like a dispensary of legal drugs. Let's go check it out. The drug in question was a strong cup of coffee necessary for a day battling Auckland traffic. Good news! I have myself a cup of coffee. That's my drug intake for the day, courtesy of a Devonport cafe. Now, if you were to go into any cafe in Auckland and buy a latte and a panini, for example, you'd be looking at about $16. Now, interestingly, that is exactly what it costs per hour to rent this car. $16. If you were to take an Uber somewhere across town that's an hour away, it would cost much more than $16. If you were to rent a car, you'd be looking at least $50 a day. It'd be a waste of time to rent it for an hour. And if you were to take a bus, I mean, sure, a bus would be cheaper, but then you have to listen to that weird guy in the corner playing terrible music through a cell phone speaker. You don't have to do that with this car. So what I'm going to do now is switch from tourist to business person, because business people are the typical Zilch user. People fly into an airport, pick up a car, get straight in and drive off to their destination to do businessy stuff and whatever business people do. Meetings and coffee and high fives or whatever business people do, I don't know. I've been a tradesperson so long that I'm not actually sure what business people really do. So to understand them better, I searched online for footage I could use, and apparently this is what business people do. Now, while I try to explain to my boss why I've blown $50 of the video budget on this ridiculous footage, let's check out Zilch in more detail. You already know you can drive these eco-friendly fast cars for $16 an hour, but they also have a commuter club you can join, which is $149 a week, and for that you get a car at your disposal all night and every weekend, and that includes its own parking space worth about $100 a week. So add it all up and you're paying $50 a week for a car. They also do business deals too, in case you want to get rid of your dirty and expensive combustion fleet, but for now, oh good lord, they're still going. For now, let's get back to the car. Alright, something I need to pick up from the store here. It is a long story and a little bit embarrassing. Don't ask. Now this may be a video about a car sharing service, but the cars themselves are really interesting. So what I'm going to do now is drive across town, find a scenic location, park up, and use a voiceover to explain this car's specs and features. The BMW i3 is now an older design, made during a time when electric cars were all designed to look quirky and fun. If you were to buy one new, you're now looking at around 70 grand with the clean car rebate, and for that, it'll do realistically around 250 kilometers. So if it were me, I'd stick to car sharing one rather than buying one. As for interesting features, it has a high-tech carbon fiber frame and a 125 kilowatt motor, which gives it a 0 to 100 time of about 7.3 seconds. It also has rear suicide doors with door-mounted front seat belts and a cabin which feels big and airy, possibly because the windscreen is 3 nautical miles away. Sadly, the PSC is disappointingly low at 24. There's really not much rear legroom either, and the rear windows don't open. The boot is also a bit cramped, with a capacity of 260 litres being just big enough to squeeze a body in. As for charging, the car comes with a Type 2 cable, useful for public AC charging outlets, and it also comes with a household charger if you decide to take the car home. All in all though, it's a fun little car to drive, and it didn't take long for me to start enjoying the BMW way of life. Man, I can get used to this parking like a BMW driver thing. Alright, got some essential supplies. Now I'm going to go home, have something to eat, and plug this thing in. Now, you don't actually have to drop this vehicle back off fully charged. It's not the cool thing to do, but they're not going to tell you off if you drop it off empty. That being said, if you do plan on using it for more than 2 or 3 hours, say take it home, which you can, then they do give you a home charger, so you just plug it in, and you're good to go. With the car plugged in and charging, now's a good time for a plug for Ecotricity. There are a bunch of power companies around now, but only one is truly green, with Ecotricity being the only one which is certified carbon zero. That means every electron they provide is 100% renewable. Ecotricity's pricing is very competitive and their electricity is 100% clean. So if you want fresh air and a future, make the move today at ecotricity.co.nz. It is day 2 and I am on my way back into Auckland City to Zilch to drop off this car. It's served me well over the 24 hours, but it's time to go and replace it with something that has more than twice the range. Alright, let's swap cars. So this is the Hyundai Kona electric. I've never actually been in the full electric model, only the gas burning model, and already this was much more refined. I mean, I'm sitting at a red light and it's beautifully quiet, as is with electric cars. I've also been playing around with the drive modes. Now I can press drive mode and it'll go from eco to comfort to sport. I'm in sport mode right now, even though it does take about 5% off the gasometer of how far it thinks you can drive per charge, but still, 480 kilometers per charge. You'll never get that much in Auckland City. Oh, that's sport mode. Sorry, people are looking at me. 150 kilowatts at the front wheels. Yeah, no surprise it's going to do that. Far out. Another interesting factoid is that Hyundai have named this car the Kona after the place in Hawaii. Because Hyundai often name cars after travel destinations. Already you've got the Santa Fe and the Tucson. Hyundai say that they do this because Kona reflects the type of personality of the person that would buy this car. And I don't know if that's a compliment, because when I think of Hawaii, I think of surf, cocktails, and sweating. But it does give me hope that maybe one day there will be a Hyundai Havelock North. Anyway, I'm about to take this across town, park it up, and give you a rundown with a cool voiceover once again. And the voiceover says that with the clean car rebate, this car with the big battery costs 71 grand, does 480 k's per charge, has a 150 kilowatt motor and 0 to 100 time of 7.6 seconds. That makes $16 an hour for an afternoon of fun sound like a bargain. Inside is the usual Korean sea of black plastic, but it has every option imaginable. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, lane keeping, adaptive cruise, you name it. Cabin storage, however, is where it sets itself apart. The Kona EV has an industry-leading PSC of 43, unrivaled in its class. But wait, there's more. Unlike a Tesla, once you pop the hood on the Kona, you'll find it full of electric stuff because this model is designed to hold hold dirty diesel and petrol engines too. But there's plenty of room in the boot, which at 332 litres comfortably fits a body. This Zilch example also comes with a Type 2 cable and a regular household plug for recharging. But enough about the car, let's look at the pros and cons of the car sharing service. I can see the appeal of car sharing. If you're a traveller for work or an inner city resident or a tourist, there's a lot of pros, but it's starting to sound like an advertisement for car sharing right now. So I'm going to go pick up a person, you may know them, who is really not convinced, and we're going to try and go through the pros and cons honestly about this service. And there he is over there. Now, you may know this person. He's intolerable and I can't stand the guy. Here he comes now. Brace yourself. Alright, pros and cons. I do the pros, you do the cons, because that's what you're good at. This service is perfect for people living in the city that don't have a car. It's perfect for tourists. It's perfect for people who arrive on business to Auckland or Christchurch Airport, don't want to go through the hassle of renting a car. Remember last time you rented a car, you tried to in Florida? How long were you waiting in the line for? 30 minutes. Yeah, I was there. I remember you were in quite a snotty mood and this close from walking away and never ever renting a car again. I'll give you that, fine. But with car sharing, it may not always be available when you want it. Well, you can pre-book it, you numpty. And they've got 100 cars almost in Auckland and Christchurch. You might not get the car you want, but you'll get a car. Well, that's another thing. It's not in my driveway. When I want it, I have to go to the city or the airport to pick it up. Not everything revolves around you. It's designed to be used by people who want a car for a short period of time. Okay, but at $119 a day, it's not cheap. That's 24 hours. I could rent a car for less than that. It's not a rental car, you muppet. You don't treat it like a rental car. It's 16 bucks per hour. You use it for a few hours a day. You go to the hospital or go to the grocery store, go shopping, or go to a landmark or the museum with your friends or something. It's not a rental car. Okay, well here's one. Kiwis love cars, right? We love our cars. We form bonds with them. You can't get that with, what's this car name? Hugo? I can't form a bond with Hugo knowing that someone else is going to be in him tomorrow. It's like renting a dog instead of owning one. Alright, well you can just get out. Fine. And now we're back, stuck in Auckland city traffic, and it's been a fun couple of days driving these Zilch electric cars around. The only thing I didn't get the chance to show you was the charging of these vehicles. Zilch gives you this card, which works on the ChargeNet network. That's New Zealand's largest electric car recharging network. Unfortunately, I just didn't get a chance to show because most Zilch users never drain the batteries down far enough for them to need a recharge. They unplug them, go and do their errands for a few hours, get back, plug them back in, then go about their days. I suppose that's a good problem. Oh, and here we are. I finally get it. I finally get the point of car sharing. It's got more positives than negatives, perfect for business travelers, those living in the city or tourists. The only criticism I have, and it's a silly one, is that even though they've given Hugo here a name, it's going to be hard for me to bond with a car knowing someone else is going to be driving it straight after me. To me, as convenient as Hugo is, he'll always be a four-wheeled rent boy. He is cheap though. What are you doing later, Hugo?